All right, so listen, good morning. I'm back from Maine in my padded room with a spreadsheet. And considering I'm not a C personality type, all of this feels just as weird to me as it does to you guys, but I'll give you a little bit of background. So I was a real estate appraiser in Fort Lauderdale, in Broward County, Dade County, and Palm Beach County for 7 years. In appraising, you have to be an apprentice for 2 years. I did a 2-year apprenticeship, stayed with the same company, which was my dad's brokerage. When I dropped out of college, it was like lay tile or become an appraiser and let my dad save me. So I opted for the second one for peace in my family home. And I became an appraiser and I did a 2-year apprenticeship. And then I proceeded to do probably somewhere around 7,000 or 8,000 appraisals. And we ended up becoming experts, allegedly experts in the appraisal business. And we were doing review cases for FBI RICO fraud acts for bad mortgage brokers, bad appraisers, all of those networks. So I've done a lot of appraisals individually. I've done a lot of review appraisals on other appraisers, and I have an entirely different methodology that we use that is not taught in real estate school and you guys have not been exposed to. So I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to go right at it, okay? Because we got 30 minutes and there's a lot to fill in here. All right. So if you guys see this screen, can I get a thumbs up from anybody? See the screen? Okay, good deal. All right, so this is what I use. I created my own. I'm going to make somebody a part. Julie, can you be my participant guest
Sure.
admin here? Let me find you. I'm going to make you also a co-host. This way we can just keep adding them along. Okay, cool. Thanks, Julie, for your help. All right. So anyway, okay. So I created this spreadsheet, which is basically a simplified CMA. I did this for Stephen Custer. That's why it says Ultimate CMA for Stephen Custer, because Stephen Custer was one of my new agents. He was in his 20s. He was a trainer at Jets Fitness. I ran into him there. He was very shy, so he never talked to me about real estate. And then finally, he actually talked to me about real estate and came over to EXP. And now he's a 5-year icon agent, prospector, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars of real estate stock here, 10 rental properties, and 30 people in his revenue share. And I think he's only 32. So anyway, so we built this out. And if a brand new agent can learn this, then you pros can learn this fast. Okay. So if you guys are wondering, well, Rich, this is great. Can I have it? Yes. On the ad that I did on Rockstar Agents, I put this CMA grid in the comment section. I will take this recording, and under the comments of this recording in Rockstar Agents, I will actually add the grid in there. If you're not in Rockstar Agents, I can't give you the grid. We got 9,000 people that send me work chats constantly through EXP Family Tree. I'll never get it over to you. If you're one of my direct agents, of course I'll get it over to you. If that all feels unfair, message me in the box. I'll explain the reasoning behind all of this. Okay, but this is the CMA grid. So we always put out the address and the name, and then what we do is we basically use this template to really match the property. So what I don't like about appraisers is that they're always looking in the rearview mirror, and what I don't like about realtors is that they're always looking in the windshield, and you have to reconcile the two. So what we want to do is look at closed sales that are as close and as similar as possible and as recent as possible. Now, here's the problem. They don't always exist. So that's where I think that we're going to get into the weeds today on how this all looks. I can do 2 months of classes on this, and you guys can consume it all. So let's just use today as sort of a litmus test if you guys like it and if you think it's helpful, okay? And then I can spend a long time on this, all right? It took me 2 years to learn it, so it might take us quite a while to get to it. So what I always do is I want to know, basically, if you guys think about real estate, there's 3 different approaches to evaluations. There's a cost approach. What does it cost to build it, right? Insurance companies use this because they want to know what the land is worth and then what it costs to build the property. And then they want to depreciate it because in the insurance world, the effective age or the economic life of a piece of property is only 60 years. Now, any one of us that have been through historic neighborhoods knows that's not true, but that's how they rate it, and they depreciate property. The other way to evaluate property, which I think a lot of you guys are really familiar with, and we weren't back when I learned this 25 years ago, which is income producing, the income approach. So that's where you hear things like cap rates, right? And on short-term rentals, we've all gotten pretty familiar with that. Basically, the ROI. What's our investment? What's our return on it? And we have formulas to take you through what that looks like. And in appraising, We used to do, I think they were Form 216s on way back out, but rent schedules and operating income statements. So you would have a rent schedule to show you what the property would rent for, and then you have an operating income statement that would show you your gross rent minus your vacancy, your expenses, all that to your net rental income. And then when you looked at a property, we'd be able to tell you, okay, you're going to earn 6.7% return on this property based on these data points that we've entered, that we've extracted as averages from the marketplace, right? The last part is the sales comparison approach, which is used honestly in every single thing, even if you use another strategy, okay? And that is basically like car shopping. I want to go buy a BMW 550, right? The one with the sunroof is $2,000 more. The one without the package that I have is $2,000 less. It looks like the package is worth $2,000. Looks like the sunroof is worth $2,000. We're going to do basically apples to apples, at least if we can find another apple. So I created this form to customize it. So there's a few components on here, and I'll go through what we're going to look at here. Is that basically we want to know what the age of the property is, because a 1990 house has got a lot more wear on the mechanicals. It's probably out of trend. It is definitely going to be more maintenance than a brand new house. And we want to make an adjustment if the market warrants an adjustment for that difference. And I can tell you, using blanket statements is the first thing that'll get you in trouble in this business, right? But most of the time, new construction of a like property is going to be more value if it's on a like lot, because it's not as old, right? What drives prices up, guys? Dirt. It's not the real estate that's on it. That's depreciating. The dirt's driving the price up enough to offset the depreciation of the property. Think about it. Like if you add exercise and weightlifting and cardio into your diet, that should offset your caloric intake if you drive that hard enough and you watch, right? So that's how values are going up. And what we want to do when we're looking at a property to evaluate is you want to never adjust the subject. We're just going to list the subject. So think about that as like your vitals, right? So like Julie Younger, right? Like this is your height, this is your weight, this is your heart rate, this is your blood pressure, all of these different things, right? So anyway, and then we're going to try to find some more Julie Youngers. I'll use you as an example. That's not going to be easy for us, but we're going to try to find the closest that we can. And we're going to adjust those to match Julie. And once we adjust those to match Julie, then we have an idea of what Julie's value is, okay? So what we're looking at here is basically just the basic data points, the baseline of the subject, all right? So 2001, almost a full acre. How big is an acre, guys? 43,560, okay? So that's what you're going to divide by. We want to know what the view is. A residential view backing a commercial building might be an external obsolescence, which means that it's an eyesore, not only visually, but maybe they have a third shift at the plant and you can hear the generator, so it's loud, right? That could be a bad thing, right? We want to adjust for the differences. And it's the front of the property, it's the back. If you're fronting a busy road, it's not a residential, it's fronting a road, right? If you're 2 blocks in the neighborhood where your kids can roll around in the cul-de-sac, that's more of a residential view. So we want to make the distinctions between what our property has and then what the current market closed sales have, so we can get a gauge of what we should list this thing for, right? Now, when you do CMAs right, you get every listing appointment there is. I missed 2 listing appointments in 13 years of selling real estate, almost 800 million sold. I missed 2 listing appointments, and that was because of my attitude, not because of the CMA, okay? So this makes your accuracy go way, way up. All right, you want to know what the architectural style is. Realtors are always messing this up. Oh, it's a townhouse. Well, a townhouse is an architectural style. It's not a form of ownership. It could be fee simple ownership. It could be a condominium ownership. It could be a co-op. It could be many different things. So ownership and architecture have nothing to do with each other. So don't get caught up in that, okay? Also, when you hear realtors talk about price per square foot, you're using a hand grenade for accuracy instead of a sniper like Rob Tucker uses, right? A scope and a rifle, okay? Price per square foot is useless, absolutely useless. You hear builders talk about that. That's great for builders. It's useless. Don't ever, ever, ever think that that is a safety net. If you want to get medians, that's great. If you want to sell property for what it's worth, medians are not important, okay? So your architectural style, and what I use is an exterior cladding in this case, because hardy board is way more expensive than vinyl siding. Brick is almost the same price as hardy board these days, which I'll never understand, right? So we want to get an idea of what, if you have brick on all 4 sides or you have brick just on the front facade, there might be a difference in value. There might not be, but we want to make a distinction, because the seller that has 4 sides brick is going to want to see that you notice that they had 4 sides brick and the comp had just the front side brick. Okay. This shows that you actually pay attention and that you're competent and that you know exactly what you're selling. Okay. So the architectural style could be a ranch or two-story. If you're going up, if you got a 2,000 square foot shoebox on top of a 2,000 square foot shoebox, that's a lot cheaper to build than a 4,000 square foot ranch where the concrete is 3 times the size or 2 times the size at the very least, right? So cost on the kind of architecture is going to be very, very important. You see all of these like beautiful homes that have all these roof lines. Those are way more expensive than a salt shaker house in New England, a salt box, right? Or a Cape Cod, or even modern houses. You see these shed roofs. Those are easy and cheap. James, you know that. You're a builder, realtor, managing broker in charge, right? Like when you get people, when people are saying, I want a 2,000 square foot houses, builders start having blood pressure go up because they're like, oh, that's great. I could build you one at $200 a square foot, $400 a square foot, or $1,000 a square foot. What do you want in it? What does it look like? What's it going to take, right? So we wanted to make a distinction because we don't want to compare a Frank Lloyd Wright house to my house. That would be an injustice to him. Okay. Condition, upgrades. You got 3 homes that are built in the 1970s. How many times have these homes been remodeled? Some none, some 5 times. And by the way, like, you know, it's pretty subjective what looks good and what doesn't look good, right? So we want to get an idea of what the condition looks like, okay, and what's been done. If you have a 30-year-old HVAC, a 30-year-old roof, a 30-year-old electrical system, 30-year-old plumbing, right, and somebody else has had all of that stuff gutted the last year, I think the market's going to notice that. The home inspections are going to be different. So we want to make sure that we distinguish that. When you see total rooms are all the rooms in the house. So in a 12.5, 5.5, bedrooms are obvious, bathrooms are obvious. It's a full bathroom is 1.0, a half bathroom is 0.5. That's how we counted them. Okay, you can count them however you want, right? But as long as you count them, okay? But like a living room, a dining room, a kitchen, a family room, a sunroom, a study, and a gym. Those all might not have closets. Those are 7 rooms outside of the bedroom. So this would be a 12.5, 5.5. Okay. Does the total room count matter? No, not really. But if you have an 800 square foot house and you have 3 rooms, 3 bedrooms, I hope you don't have a bunch of other rooms because, I mean, what is this going to be, a maze? Like, you know, I hope you have an open concept and what else you have, right? So that's why you see in little houses, people are knocking walls down because they want less rooms to offset the cluster of having all the bedrooms in a small square footage, right? Basement, if you have a basement, it's normally less value in a basement than above the ground. Like, just think about it for a second. Say you have 7-foot basement ceilings, right? Justin just sold my house in Black Mountain and did an amazing job for me. But our basement was 6.8 ceiling height. So it doesn't count by the MLS as full square footage. You want to know what you have there, right? You also want to know, basically, is it a walkout basement? Are there windows? Right? What are we dealing with? Is it heated and cooled? Are the finishes comparable to the first floor? Or does it feel like a basement finishes, which are almost always lesser than? Unless you live on Lake Norman here. Sometimes I've seen basements in there that are just as nice as the first floor or the first 2 floors. But you want to make sure that you're aware of it. Square footage, HVAC, which means that it's heated and cooled. Okay, HVAC square footage, you're going to put that in there. Now, that's not garages, that's not porches, that's not any of that stuff. It's just cooled, heated and cooled square footage, okay? And it's going to be given a different price than basement square footage in most cases, unless the market is not dictating any difference. Now, basements are finished, partially finished, unfinished, okay? So you're going to rate those at different levels as well. What location? Salisbury, okay? This is one from North Carolina. But Salisbury, if you're in North Carolina, Salisbury doesn't warrant the prices that Mooresville does. So it's important to make sure that we have that listed, because if we have no sales in Salisbury and we have sales in Mooresville, China Grove, what is it? Rockwell, is that the next town over? Whatever. I'm using some of these towns out here. They're going to be lesser land value than the subject if it's, you know, or more, right? So we want to make sure that we can account for that. Also, school districts are oftentimes important. Now, appraisers don't do this because appraisers are dictated by underwriters. So there's always somebody like over you with their thumb over you telling you what they're willing to accept, which has nothing to do with what market value is. That's why I hate underwriters. If anybody here is a former underwriter, I'm sorry, but you guys are very difficult because you're checking boxes and we're trying to evaluate real estate. Okay. So all of that stuff you want to quantify. Garage 5. That means there was a 5-car garage. And I wrote EXT, which means that it was, or I would put DET, but like detached, or an exterior garage building. Okay. A shed, a huge shed, a Zoom room, like I just built in my house, a barn, a cabana, a pool house. All of those things could be accounted for in either there or special features or whatever, right? So a real CMA is going to quantify, it's going to encapsulate all of that. Your pools, patios, porches, decks. Let's just define what it is. A patio has no roof, guys. A deck is a wood version of no roof. A porch is defined by having a covered roof. When people say covered patio, they're using the wrong words. It's just a porch, okay? But you want to list what you have out there, because if somebody has a fire pit, pavers are a lot more expensive than concrete, right? So if somebody has a fire pit out there and they have a $25,000 fire pit, patio, gardens, all of that stuff, that might add value to somebody that has a 5-foot slab with a 30-year-old barbecue and a propane tank out there. Okay, it might not. It could be an over improvement. You guys ever heard of that? When you're improving over what the market's willing to warrant in your neighborhood. So if you're in a $250,000 neighborhood and you have gold faucets, you might be making bad decisions. But if you're in a $5 million house and you have gold faucets, maybe some other properties have that and people actually want that. I don't know. The market will tell you. Okay, and we're going to get into that, but that's a whole nother session. Okay. Special features. This guy had an elevator. An elevator is $40,000-$50,000 cost. What's the resale value of an elevator? Well, if you have a 2-story, an elevator might be a bit of a useless feature. But if you have a 3-story or 4-story house, an elevator is almost a requirement. If your average age of a property that's 10,000 square feet with 4 levels is 58 years old, do you guys think that that client's going to want an elevator? Probably. They're not old. They're smart. They don't want to walk up all those stairs up and down. You leave your car keys downstairs, you're 200 calories into getting your car keys back, right? So use some common sense on what belongs and what doesn't belong. And the way that you're able to ascertain that is by seeing what the comps have. If you're the only person in the neighborhood with $300,000 of landscaping, we might not be able to recapture that unless you sell it to an English gardener who has to have it. But then we have to deal with the appraisal. So we're going to constantly get everything stated on this spreadsheet, but we're not going to adjust for it until we do some more research on how to get that done. Okay. And then boathouses and lifts, because I live in a lake area. So these are just, I could customize this. If it was an equestrian community under special features, I could put 5-stall barn, tack room, round pen, whatever each neighborhood has. Okay, if it's a short-term rental in Branson, Missouri, I could put on the bottom column generating $84,000 of net income. We can kind of include an income approach into this thing. Okay. Now, when you're looking at a subject, right? So let's just say that this is I don't know if you can see, this is my pen. Okay. This is the subject. What's this pen worth? I want to bracket this pen with something slightly lesser than and something slightly superior to. All right. Because if I say that this pen is worth $1,000 and I show you 3 pens that are worth $500 and I say, oh, they're not as nice. They're not this brand. They're not this material. They don't write this well, whatever it is. You got to say, well, the adjustment that you're making to the 3 pens that are $500 is just something that you pulled out of thin air. You haven't proven a case. So what I want to do is show you a pen that's lesser than, hopefully pens that are exactly the same, because then there's nothing to talk about. And then pens that are nicer and make adjustments for the difference. So we want to bracket the subject's features. So we're going to bracket the age, the square footage, the location. If you have a comp of like I live in a modern house. If you have, my house doesn't have a lot of modern houses around it. So I might use 2 other homes that are not modern that are on my street or within a few blocks. And then I might use a modern house that's 3 miles out just because it shows similar architecture. And I might make adjustments for the location difference. They might be in a better or worse school district. They might be in the town where the taxes are double, or they might be in the county where they're cheaper. These are things that we have to do research on. What's happening is realtors are looking at comps, they're looking at averages, they're going over there, they're presenting some averages, and they're selling property that has no real tie to what the property's worth. And that's why when you guys are pulling comps and you see unevenness in the market, it's just uneducated realtors and sellers and buyers agents in the marketplace, right? Now, when you see condos, say you have a 6-story mid-rise condo in Florida, and all the interior units are 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom, 1,000 square foot units. And the ends are 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom units, and they have extra windows, so they have more sunlight. It's very easy to determine what they're worth because you have plenty of sales of comparable properties exactly the same. The only thing you have to dictate is what are the 3-bedrooms worth more than the 2 bedrooms? And then what is each floor worth? Is the first floor worth most, so you don't have to go up the staircase? What if the building has no elevators? Or if it has elevators and you just don't like wasting 10 minutes to get to your car, is the first floor a premium? Or if you're worried about burglars, is the first floor a negative? Is the 5th floor a premium because you have no stepping above you? There's nobody above you. And we have to dictate what the market's doing based on its pattern of sales. And you don't have to just go back 6 months or a year. When you're actually trying to delineate what the value of a higher floor is, you could go back and check the patterns for the last 10 years. This way you say to the seller, look, historically a penthouse unit, a 5th level unit sells for 10 grand more than the 4th level unit solely because people don't have to have condo feet above them. Okay? So we're going to look at the market and analyze it. And the way that you look at the market and analyze it is by looking very wide and then bringing it narrow to where you have, okay, I have 4 or 5 sales. You'll see I have sales 1 through 3. I guess we removed a sale when we were practicing. And then 4 and 5, which we never used. This was obviously a different area, right? But I just keep going over the old data because I just use the same spreadsheet. All right. So sale 1, sale 2, sale 3 is where we're going to start. All right, the guidelines are very simple. You don't want to adjust a sale more than 31% of this entire value. So if it's $1 million sale price, you don't want to have $310,000 of adjustments on here. At that point, it's not even comparable. You try to stay location-wise within a mile. I like putting the days on the market on here because the days on the market is going to show you what your listing contract needs to be and set expectations for your seller. Obviously, this is a 6-year-old evaluation because 342 days on the market, 195 days on the market, we're in a different market, right? This is also going to show you how far you can push the comps. If this property is worth 1.15 based on these 2 sales, right? Then if the marketing is 342 days, we're going to lean toward the lower side of the adjusted range, which is what all the comps adjust for. If the days on the market are 0 and 1 and 2, we might ask 1, 2 for this thing, right? We also want to see what the percentage is between list price and sale price so we can set an expectation. Have any of you guys ever heard of a seller net sheet? Okay, we want to say, look, based on the closed sales out here, these 3 properties sold for 89 to 91% of the list price. So our expectation is that if we list for $1 million, we're probably going to get around $900,000 for it, and it's probably going to take us 6 months to do so, or 8 months to do so. Does that time frame work for you? If you want to speed that up, we have to work on this. If you're okay waiting the average time here or less, then this is the plan that we need to take. So then you get into motivation. How important is it to know motivation of your clients? Very important. Very important. Because when they all tell you that they're not motivated, but they say at this point, when you're sitting at the dining room table, Rich, we don't want to wait 342 days. What do we have to do? Now you realize, what's the time set? What's the time frame for you to move? Oh, well, I have a granddaughter being born in September. I need to be out of here in 2 or 3 months. Understood. For us to get the 2 or 3 months, we might want to list it to what the actual price is going to be when it closes. We might want to take that 11% of fishing out of it and just list it for 115 instead of listing it for 1225. Make sense? Okay. When you're doing your adjustments, you want to adjust each line by line by line by line by line. It's just that simple. Okay. When you adjust these comps, if it's better, what do? You deduct. You never adjust the subject, you deduct from the comp. If it's worse, you add. So you're going to basically have very simple math going on. You're going to subtract and add to your list until each item represents the adjustment that the market warrants for that specific feature. And you're going to continue to do that until these numbers start to line up. Look how good these numbers line up. 1254. If you saw the sale price of these two houses and you had this house, how many of you would list this house for 1275? Well, the fact of the matter is that it's really worth about 115, right? Because some of these homes were significantly better or worse. But when you panned it all out, it all rolled out here. Okay. So this is the person that you're dating for the first 3 months. This is the person that's there. This is the person that you're living with on marriage year 12. Okay. And where realtors get a little off track is they work on what's the buzz, what's happening now. And where appraisers are a little behind is this is what actually happened when you minus out the whole, when the circus left town, this is what we had. Now you see concessions, financing, closing cost, you have to minus that out. If somebody paid $30,000 of closing cost, right, that affects the value of the property, right? So if there was $30,000 from the seller to the buyer, you want to minus that out. Okay, is everybody following me so far? Are we okay? All right. So I'm going to stop just for a second because we have a 30-minute call. Okay, I just want to get a temperature of the room because I can't see all your faces. Please unmute if you're not in Grand Central Station. Okay, am I going too fast? Is this jarring your brain? Everybody following so far?
This is great, Rich. Really
Okay.
is.
Okay. All right. So listen, I can do a series of these for the next till the cows come home, and we can get into actually comping out your properties live, putting them on the spreadsheet, and showing you how we found the adjustments. Now it's going to be real gritty work learning this. The reason why I was able to sell so many properties with my personality style is because every single time I left a listing presentation, they knew there was nobody more knowledgeable than I was. Every single time. Now, when we do that comp sheet, that CMA sheet, what we end up doing is we show them what the list price to sale price ratio is, what the days on the market is, that we have actually very much identified all of the features of their property and then all of their comps. And what they start saying is, oh, that's Stacy and Tom's house. We've been in it. Oh, it's not as nice as us. And I say, oh, well, that's great because I adjusted it $100,000 for the 1975 wallpaper they have in the bathrooms. Okay. So what it does is it starts building competency, trust. And my listing presentations were very, very easy. I'd say, hey, listen, I made a couple guesses from my laptop in my office that I need to confirm or change. Can we go for a tour of the house? They give me a tour of the house. The whole time I'm writing notes. When I said, as soon as we're done, I go, you guys sit where you normally sit, and I'll sit where the guests sit. And if I can get them on the same side of the table with me, now we're on the same team. Hey, you guys mind jumping on my side and look at my computer screen? And then I lay out all the comps stapled in color with photos and everything. And I show them all the comps. And I'm like, you guys look at pictures while I talk. And I bring them down, hey, did I miss anything? Here's the subject. Here's all your details. Here's all your information. Here's comp 1, comp 2, comp 3. Honestly, we pulled 7 comps for this property because it wasn't a good property to comp at this date that we're at right now. Our sales were older. Have you guys ever heard of the successive sales method? Okay, that's how you make adjustments for time. Do you guys believe that we are, put your thumbs up because we're all in different areas. Are we in a market that's appreciating? Wherever you're at right now, put your thumb up. Okay, are we in a market that's totally flat? Put your thumb here. Are we in a market that's going down? Put your thumb down. If you're not in a stable market, you should be making adjustments for sale date. Let me give you an example. What's today? July 5th. Okay. Property goes under contract January 5th, closes March 5th. You're like, oh, great. That sale's only 4 months old. Yeah, but it went under contract 6 months ago. What were the rates 6 months ago? Were they 7.25%? No, they might have been 6%. And we were complaining then, right? So recent data is huge. Comparable data is huge. When you use these grids, and again, in Rockstar Agents, I will post the grid up there so you guys have it. And in my own direct coaching circuits, I'll do the same thing. The reason why this is important is that not only do you get better at evaluating real estate, but your agents get better, which means they become listing agents and they have confidence. So here's my listing pitch. I know we're at time. My listing pitch is this simple. Hey, my name is Rich Tomasini. I trained under one of the best appraisers in the marketplace. I understand evaluations better than the person that's going to get paid $800 to appraise this property. I know exactly what your house is worth. I'm going to screenshot you how I evaluate real estate just with one picture. And I want to tell you exactly what your house is worth. The only thing I need to do is make sure that the assumptions I made through the data and resources that I have online match what you're living in. What day works better, Wednesday or Thursday, afternoons or nights? See there. I get the listing every single time. Every single time. So if you want your agents and your organization on your team, yourself, if you want to improve these skills, we can do reps on CMAs all day long. I don't have time to field your questions because we're already at time, but in the comment section on Rockstar Agents or in the work chat here, like throw your comments on there, and then we can go into this in great detail. And the way that I'd rather do it is somebody pulls their MLS and pulls the grid sheet, and we do these together, and we actually tell them what needs to be in there. And then we'll start making the adjustments. So like, I'll give you an example. I'll give just one last little teaser of how we figure out what the adjustments are. So you go back into a neighborhood. Let's just say there's a neighborhood near me called Morrison Plantation. It's probably 380 to $620,000 houses, maybe not even 380 more with the inflation. So let's say 425 to 625, right? All the houses are like basically 3 different builders, 5 or 6 different models. Okay. So you can go in there and see every single, that's another thing, right? Like all builders are not equal. So you could go into that neighborhood and you can go back 2 or 3 years. Why are realtors going back 2 or 3 years? They never are, right? But what an advantage when you're sitting there across a seller and say, I went back in your neighborhood for 10 years to determine what a garage is worth. Because there's houses with 2-car garages and there's houses with 1-car garages, and the difference between the two are $12,000, and not one person that's going to come try to list your house has any idea what the difference is. They just say it's better, right? Once you get into that level of competence, we're looking really good. So I'll give you another example. Justin listed a house, a rental house that my wife and I have in Black Mountain, right? His number came in, the two of us came in within 2 or 3% of the entire sale price. That's a good sign. I mean, Justin doesn't know he was getting graded on that, but I actually did the comps on it, right? So when you guys are dialed in and you've been doing this for 20 years, don't get freaked out by this class. You're probably pretty close. Justin's never taken this class. He was right on the money, right? But not every property is easy. Like there's certain properties that I evaluate and I'm like, oh my God, I have no idea. I can give you my best guess. And when I have that conversation with the seller, I build instantaneous trust. If I don't know, none of these other people know, I'm just going to be honest with you and tell you, I think we're in a range here. And what I'd like to do is do a 30-day at the high end of the range, because we can never retake that back. We can't go up in price. And then I want to do automatic price drops that I'm going to have you sign right now after 30 and 90 days. And then we're not going to go less than this. If we don't work at this price, we're not going to sell. And you get all those things signed. And then day before it goes, say, hey, listen, price change that we have already documented in Sky Slope, it's getting altered tomorrow, and it's going to refresh in the MLS. All right. Sorry, I always go long. I will.
Did you say we could get that spreadsheet somewhere, Rich?
Yeah, it's in Rockstar Agent Sean. I will post it in the comments. That's right below this live feed in there. Okay. All right, let me just check the chats real quick. We'd love the more info listing right now. We'd love to break it down. Emma, gotcha. Modelers get same results every cost list through 10 homes. Exactly right. Okay. All right. We're all on the same page, guys. So if you guys want to do the CMA class, Emma, bring your numbers tomorrow. Can you get this document off the drive on Rockstar? You're in Rockstar, right?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. Let's do this tomorrow together, and then I will be your corner man, and then you're gonna post these on here and we'll fill out the grid together and see what we got. Okay.
Okay.
If you can wait, can you wait tomorrow?
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Good deal. All right, guys. Thanks for joining me. I love having a big group here. Okay. Peace out.
Bye. Thank you, guys.
Bye.
Thanks, Rich.
Cheers. See y'all.